Hey guys, Andy's Randomness here. Today is Monday, July 3rd, 2023. And in this video, we're going to talk about the confusing Delmarva radio situation. And it's a lot to dig into, guys, because I want to talk about signal interference on a couple of the FM stations down here. So basically, this is going to be like how Robert from Hobbyman ZXC rambles on about radio, but in this situation, we're going to talk about signal interference on two stations down here. So let's discuss the first obvious station that I'm very upset about down here, and that is Q105. Now, let's get into the situation with that. So that is our adult contemporary, our real true adult contemporary station, because WBOC 1025 is technically CHR contemporary hit radio like 1035 KTU in New York. But in this situation, WQHQ is like Light FM down here, 106.7 WLTW. Now, I'm going to get into the signal interference situation right now. So, we have a translator here in Ocean City, which is W286BB, which is in Ocean Pines. Excuse me there for a second. It's 105.1 FM. And it's causing a lot of signal interference for a couple of radios down here on my end. And I don't think that's fair, because the way I look at our radio situation down here in Ocean City, a lot of us want to hear Q105, and especially because it's the official Delmarva home of Delilah. And I'm not really a big fan of Delilah back in New York, but for whatever reason, here in Delmarva, maybe she has more input than we thought with iHeartRadio down here than we think she does. I don't know, guys. Because from what I've been listening to down here, it's a lot more upbeat songs during Delilah's show down here than what I would hear back in New York on 106.7 Light FM. But in any regard, what gets me upset is when you put 104.7 on, sometimes some radios have a very hard time picking up the signal. I at least have two radios, electrical wise. I have an old clock radio from the 1980s that the last tenants of this unit left in. Same with another radio, which is an old iPod dock from, who knows, maybe, from what I saw, I think it was manufactured in 2006. So it causes a lot of signal interference. And, you know, if I were somebody who ran radio down here in Delmarva, what I would do to be on the safe side here, I would move that 105.1 signal and I would put it on 102.1 FM. And that would be a very good station to do it on, because it's vacant, there wouldn't be any signal interference, and I'm sure the FCC would grant clearance on that. So for W2, making sure I get the, here we go, W286BB FM, you would be moved down to 102.1. And now we're going to get into the last station down here, and we're going to talk about Classic Rock 107.7. Now, 104.7, like I just mentioned, is an iHeart radio station. 107.7 WGBG Delmarva's Classic Rock, which, believe it or not, from what I've been listening to, despite the signal interference, I think it's the same voiceover guy who does WBA Beach jingles back in New York. So that's what I've been noticing while I've been listening to that station down here. So the issue is we have a low power FM called WEES FM. Supposedly it's owned by Edinburgh Early School. It's, I don't know, an educational nostalgia thing. And literally right outside of my condominium is the studios. And I don't know if that's causing the signal to be a problem, but it's interfering with 107.7 signal. And what I would do to be on the safe side here, if I were WGBG, I would move down the dial to 107.3 FM. And I've been thinking about this a lot recently, but hear me out on why I think this would be a logical move. Because we've had a channel swap down here before. We have WKNC, which is a low-power Christian contemporary station. Therefore, WKHI, which was originally on 94.9, moved down the dial to 94.5 FM. So what I would do is move it down to that frequency. I would move Classic Rock 107.7 to 107.3 FM. It really wouldn't be a big noticeable difference. But if I were also the Drapers, I would look into also moving the station down to 94.1. Because then you can go in between your main rock format on 93.5, and then 94.1 would be classic rock, and you really wouldn't have that much signal interference compared to what you have now on 107.7. So that would be how I would do it in the Delmarva radio market. Now, a long time ago, I really do not understand the 87.7 situation before the FCC ruling, because a long time ago, as many of you remember, the Franken FMs used to be on 87.7, and that's where Wow Country used to be. So Wow Country had to figure out the situation. They were afraid that they would lose their Maryland Eastern Shore listeners. So WICO got clearance for a 2,000 watt signal, and pretty much no more Franken FM. If WEEZ was smart a long time ago, they could have been on 87.7, but you can't really mess around with that 107.9 frequency. So that's what I would do in the Delmarva radio market. Again, I would be careful with 105.1 and just move it down to 102.1 FM. I think that would make a lot more sense. It really wouldn't interfere with 102.5 signal, since that's what I'm seeing on the vacant channel situation. Another vacant channel that's an option is 88.9, but I'm sorry, I don't see that as an option. I really don't. WEEZ is not going to change frequencies. So again, let's just recap. If I were running Delmarva radio, W286BB would move down the dial from 105.1 to 102.1, and I would move WGBG from 107.7 to 107.3. Simple fix. I think that would be the better option. To wrap up this video, I'm just going to look up their FCC filings. So WGBG is stuck in its situation until October of 2027. And as far as the translator for the duck, that's also the same situation until 2027. So until that can get fixed, I think we're stuck with this very bad situation where we're going to keep having signal interference on WQHQ 104.7 and then WGBG 107.7. So that's how I'm going to wrap up this video. Let me guys Let me know what you think, guys. That's what I was trying to say. Let me know what you think. Do you agree with me with the Delmarva radio frequency change? Do you think it can happen in the year 2027? Because that's the way things are, unfortunately, down here. So, that's all I have to say on this topic. Thank you very much for hearing me out. And until the next one, please take care.
We'll be right back.